There we go. That should be catching. And then desktop audio properties, speakers. All right, one of you talk, please.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, good.
I
It's
like
all
boobies.
it's all 100% fixed. Thanks, James. I
Can't
mean,
say that on
you're
Twitch.
you're a liar, but yeah, you can't say that. All right, there we go. Problem solved. Hello and welcome to week 5, I believe, of the Waterdhavian Job. I am your DM, Brad, joined today by all but one of my players. Thor, unfortunately feeling under the weather, is unable to attend. However, the show will go on. So, before we begin, as is traditional, we shall be having a recap of what happened during the last session, and this week that lovely responsibility falls to none other than Morton. So, if you would be so kind as to tell us what happened last week on the Waterdhavian Job.
Okay, previously we started off with trying to do some renovation at the new owned Trollskull Manor. As we were doing it, René Neverember came by and helped us out, and he's also promised to help us out find some work which we could earn a little bit of extra money for the renovations of said manor. And as the day went by, we were doing some construction, got a lot of trash out the door. All of a sudden, we found some shady people buying the place across the street. Did some investigation, found out his name was something alongside the what was it? Don't remember his name right now. Anyway, shady guy bought the place, and as the day went on, somebody came. Mr. Froon was his name, the shady guy that bought the thing across the street. Yes. Later upon the day, associate of René Neverember came by with a job for us, which was gonna take us into some dark alleys, which was basically a folklore about the place, but figured out it was real. We entered in there, looked around, found a bunch of traps, got past traps. Then there was a puzzle with some cow skulls, and after a little bit of doodling around, me and Basic and Dricken lifted up a skull each, and all of a sudden, Minotaurs came out of nowhere, charged our beloved Sheldrake, and gored him to death in one blow. So Sheldrake is dead. We're in said tunnel place, and now trying to figure out what we're gonna do and get Fudge out of there.
Yes, indeed. So, as we pick up where we left off, you guys were in this sort of series of connected rooms. There was this like square room with some sort of glamour cast over it that made it appear as though it was an open pasture of some sort. You know, green grasses for grazing, an open sky up above, this like trough filled with water. And then there were a couple of side rooms that had these strange skulls with runes inscribed on the horns. And upon picking them both up, this Minotaur was summoned that unfortunately was given a prime target to charge at with his horns. And now we see that Basic, having just dropped the skull to pull his longbow, has de-summoned the Minotaur. It has disappeared to wherever it came from previously, and now Sheldrake's lifeless body is lying on the floor. You notice there's a large sort of like gaping wound in his stomach where he was like gored through by this horn. But like the blood, you notice that the blood that is kind of like seeping from the wound is not staining the grass at all. It just seems to just kind of like trail off from his body, and then like there's no sign of it like pooling on the ground or anything like that, as far as you can tell. Yeah, so I believe you were working on perhaps staunching the bleeding somewhat before transporting him. He is obviously like a quick cursory examination of the gaping wound in his stomach leads you to the conclusion that he is in fact not of this world currently anymore. And there is no amount of healing magic of a normal scale that is going to fix that. This is going to require something a little bit more.
Oh god.
Poor Sheldrick. He gave his life for me.
No, you took his life.
Shut up, Mike.
So, if you would all...
Alright, we should just get out of here. Like, right now.
Yep.
This was a bad idea.
Am I here, Brad? I was left at home, right?
You're here now. Wow, it's weird how that works. You were here the whole time.
Ah, I run up like...
Yeah, you heard that they were running to this dangerous place, and so you just ran so we see like you're kind of like opening the door to this room, like having tracked them here. Valerie ran off on her own without you, her personal bodyguard. How careless.
I know, how careless.
Original. You're here, perfect. You were always here. Pick his corpse up.
We're always here. Whole time.
Always have been.
We have to leave.
Gun to back of head.
Pick him up.
Yeah.
Throw him over the shoulder.
Yeah, you enter the scene, you just see Sheldrake like lying there dead. Just like what the fuck just happened? So you pick up the body. So I guess the question is to Valerie and the rest of you, where would your first, in the heat of this moment, what is Valerie's first like response to this? Where does she go? Where does everybody go? It's an easy enough matter to just backtrack to the entrance and leave. There's nothing like barring your way.
That we know of.
Well, yeah, we'd exit this horrible dungeon first.
I mean, yeah.
Well,
so you exit, and then where do you?
I
go
imagine
from
first we have to explain why we're in a room with Sheldrake's body to Reginald, and there's no obvious threat anywhere.
I'll take the TLDR.
Yeah, Zach got the recap.
Oh, yeah, right.
there? I assume you like fill him in, right? Like we don't have to.
Yeah, I basically pick up
recap
the
it for
corpse
the third
as
time.
requested and kind of upset. Like, you should have asked me to come with you.
We did. You were busy cooking for the master.
Well, I think at the moment Valerie is quite distraught at the fact that
Yeah.
Sheldrake has been killed.
Basically, Original is carrying him. I'm ushering Valerie out, and we'll just backtrack and get the fuck out, and
Yep.
try like rush. Since Sir Reginald is here, I'm guessing he took the coach. So we'll just get into the coach and ride straight back to the manor. The
Troll Skull Manor or
No, Von Bourbon.
the Von Bourbon Manor?
Sheldrake.
Sure. Yeah, we'll say that Reginald could have brought the coach along, so you can ride through the streets without carrying this body around.
How else did I get to them in time?
I don't know.
We're just propping him up and making his arms move so it doesn't look like he's dead when we ride past people.
Are we weakened with burying the fucking
shit,
corpse?
dude.
Let's go.
Nice. Let's go. All right. Yeah. So you it's still, I believe it was about like midday or so when you entered. It's only been maybe like 15 to 30 minutes since you enter the alleyway as you exit, bearing the now corpse of your fallen companion. Piling into the carriage, you begin making your way out into the streets and riding along down Wrightstone Street to Thunderstaff Way, and quickly make your way to the Von Bourbon estate, where you kind of like pull into the yard near where the sort of like stables are, where the carriage can be parked, and I guess begin sort of like piling out of the carriage. You can see that there are a couple of like servants that come to like greet you as you're like pulling in and exiting from the carriage, asking if you've any like bags to carry or anything, and eventually like they see Sheldrake there, and there's just like a look of like shock on their face, and they don't really like know what to say in this situation. They're just kind of like looking
Get the master and the physician now.
Right. So one of them sort of like nods and kind of like quickly runs off, while the other is just sort of like asking like, what can we do, like what's going on, just like very confused at the situation, right? As you've like brought this body here. So one of them kind of like runs off. You guys, I assume, kind of like begin dragging Sheldrake out of the carriage and like putting him laying him flat down on the ground or something like that, just to prevent it.
like pull him into the foyer and put him on a drawer or like the nearest table of sorts.
Sure, yeah. So the servant like runs and gets like an old sheet or something, just so you know blood isn't getting all over the floor of the manor. As you like.
I thought we
pull-
staunched his bleeding.
I mean, well, to some extent, there's still a giant gaping hole. Like there's only so much you can do.
Well, I mean, eventually the blood runs out, so
Eventually,
it was the ride here.
So yeah, laying him down on the sheet, so none of his internal organs spill out on the floor or anything like that. Yeah, you see that very quickly. The servant comes back with another sort of like a middle-aged woman dressed in kind of like these white robes almost, and you would know that she is sort of like the like on-call physician, like a low station cleric essentially, that works for the family, and she comes like running over and just sort of like looking over like Sheldrake, just like looks at you and says, "What happened?" As she like begins trying to like work and like dress the wound as best she can.
Yeah, I suppose.
Okay, quick summary since time is of the essence. Minotaur, gore, horns, stomach. That's all you need to know. He's out.
He was
Yeah.
gored to death by a minotaur.
Yeah, she sort of like looks down and says, "I can see that he has lost quite a prodigious amount of blood." And yeah, she like quickly like checks the pulse and is like, "No pulse, no breathing." This is not good. I do not think that there is anything that can be done. This is. And then she sort of like looks over to one of the servants and says, "We must relay a message to the master immediately." I said, "Send word." I said, and the servant sort of like nods, kind of like exits. You can see the cleric. She stands up, and you see as she does, kind of like looks over at you, and she says, "I know not what it is that has brought you into this situation, but it is going to be a difficult one to explain to your father, young lady."
You know, just crying, distraught, very much so.
And so she sort of like puts an arm around your shoulder, and she says, "If you would like, perhaps we could talk about it some." Says, "I know these things can be traumatic experiences."
Perhaps.
Yeah. So while you're waiting for your father to get back, basically, she'll like pull you over and like just talk to you basically.
That's fine. I suppose like Valerie would like tell her what happened and shit like that. What was his name again? Mr. Trump, Mert Moneybags. Tell him about how like he approached him with that job idea and how they went to Blue Alley and all that shit.
Yeah, so she's like, nodding and like responding compassionately, just trying her best to like, keep you calm. Zach.
We're good.
Okay. Trying her best to kind of like keep you calm. And after like about like 30 minutes, you can see Sheldrake has been she sort of like gets like an actual kind of like set up for him, and it's been like transported him into like the parlor room essentially, rather than just like sitting in the main hall as you first enter into the building. So you're all like gathered around there, and you hear like the hurried like opening and like slamming of the door, and the heavy footfalls of somebody approaching, and the door like bursts open, and you see kind of like panting like pretty heavily from obviously exerting himself. You see your father standing in front of you with sort of like a couple of the servants that he had brought with him, and he just sort of like shouts like, "What is going on here?" As he like enters into the room, like just quickly just trying to ascertain the situation.
I guess he basically just sees everyone sitting like hand to the face, just shit.
Valerie's still just kind of sobbing a little bit to herself.
And he sort of like he see like eventually like scans the room and he sees like Sheldrake sitting there over on the table, and he like runs over and kind of like falls to his knees in front of him, like looking down, and he just sort of says, "Sheldrake, what happened? What is the meaning of this?" And he just like turns to you, Valerie.
I look over at Valerie and see like she's basically no shape to talk, and I kind of like raise up and I go like, we got a mission to walk into a place called Blue Valley, and was a few traps there, and at some point we found a puzzle of sorts. And once me and Draken lifted up two skulls, it summoned something like a Minotaur. And the Minotaur just turned straight for Sheldrake, charged straight at him. There was nothing no one could do at that point.
He breathes like a heavy kind of like sigh, and you see there's like a mix of just like emotions on his face, right? Like anger, like sadness, confusion, that are all kind of like setting in all at once. And he sort of like brings himself back up, kind of like brushing himself off a little bit, and he says, "It is clear that you are distraught over this situation. We'll speak of this later. For the meantime," and he turns to the cleric, and he says, "Sheldrake is an important member of this family. I'm not going to simply let him go so easily. Contact the priests of Kelemvor. Get one of their high-ranking members here. Immediately." And she sort of like nods and says, "I will do so," and kind of like moves off. And he just sort of says, "As for the rest of you," he says,
What's the rest?
he says, "We will have words about this later, but for the time being, you are to remain here. No more wandering off. Do you understand me?"
Yes. Nod my head.
And he just sort of like straightens himself up, and he says, "I have some messages to send. I have some meetings to cancel." And he kind of like walks off. One of the servants kind of trailing after him, leaving you all sort of like alone in the room, in the parlor room there.
I walk up to Valerie and I kind of like sit on a knee and I go like, "This does suck, but it's horrible, and you will never get used to it. But it is a part of life. But as your father say, he's gonna have someone see if he can get them back, and so hope he does."
Well, that's some solace, I suppose. I just don't think I could live with myself if, he died on my watch like that. It's my fault.
Yeah, so as you're all sort of like sitting there alone, definitely probably like a lot of kind of just like silence, right, in the room. You're there for maybe like 30 minutes to an hour waiting there. Before you hear footsteps approaching the door again, and the door opens, and you see like a group of people. One of them dressed in these sort of more like formal looking kind of like robes that it's almost like a cross between like like a service robe and like funerary outfits, and they have the holy symbol of like Kelemvor on their neck, and they enter into the room, looking about, and they see Sheldrake there on the table. And they like step forward, kind of not even like stopping to like ask any of you questions. You see your father like behind them, kind of at the back of this procession, and a number of other like lower ranked priests enter in, and you see they begin to sort of transport Sheldrake's body onto like basically like a stretcher, this like piece of like cloth and lattice work that has been stretched out, and you hear like the head priest as the others are marching out. He turns to your father and he says, "We will see what we can do. These wounds are severe. It will take quite a deal of effort on our part to restore him, but I think it might be possible. He says, it will not come cheaply, however." And your father just sort of nods and says, "Whatever it takes." And the priest just sort of like nods, leaving the room, closing the door behind them, leaving basically you all with Valerie's father in the room. And yeah, so there's like a long sort of like awkward silence before your father just sort of like clears his throat and turns to you, Valerie, and says, "Are you feeling in the mood to talk now?"
Yes. I shall tell you what happened. Well, I'll also regale him with the whole story.
Okay.
I get up and I leave the room.
Okay.
Go to the kitchen.
All right.
Kitchen time. But yeah, I suppose I'll regale him with the whole story. And
I'll go to the stables and pet stuff.
Okay. Everybody abandons Valerie.
what does my personal bodyguard do, Zach?
I mean, was I dismissed?
No, you haven't been specifically dismissed, but everybody else seems to be sort of leaving from the room.
Then I don't leave.
Okay.
I get dismissed by fucking Valerie and only Valerie.
My personal retainer.
Personal retainer.
But yeah, I regale him with the whole story. And I suppose she'd also say, I feel Sheldrake moved the way he did in order to save me. I was next to him when the Minotaur went to charge. I backed away, but he did not. Oh, God.
Yeah, so you see, as you're sort of like telling your father, like walks over to the sort of the mantelpiece over the fire of the hearth, kind of like standing in front of it, his back like turned to you, his arms kind of like his hands like clasped together behind his back, as he sort of like breathes in deeply, and he says, "If this place was so dangerous, why were you not more prepared?" And he says, "Such headstrong decisions I would expect from your sister, but not you, Valerie. I thought you knew better than this."
I suppose she'd say, for our current situation, it's like the best move. Mert Moneybags came with the offer. It sounded like something that we should take seriously.
Because perhaps you had not taken it seriously enough. He says, "Why didn't you think to regroup when he was wounded so heavily by those traps? Would it not have been more prudent to recover your strength before charging into the unknown?"
And I suppose she'd nod and say, "If would have. Gods."
He says, "I can understand, perhaps, there was some hard choices to make in the heat of the moment. Might not have been the first thing on your mind, but like it or not," he says, "an important member of our family has died under your watch, Valerie, under your command." He says,
Guilt.
and he says, "You have shown a certain disregard for the safety of your companions in so hurriedly rushing into this job you were offered." And he says, "Such callousness is not fitting of one who is seeking to take over as the head of a large family such as this, and our business interests." He says, "I am worried that this displays a lack of care for your subordinates." He says,
That is not so.
he says,
I care greatly.
"You were blinded, Valerie, blinded by greed. The promise of coin. You should have known that that there should have been more done to prepare yourselves. Supplies procured. Perhaps caution taken. And he sort of like turns to face you, and he says, it is evident that there is more that needs to be done before you are ready. He says, this tavern of yours, he says, I hope it was worth all this trouble, Valerie.
What a fool I've been.
And he just sort of walks over, like sitting opposite of you on the chair, and kind of like crossing his hands, like leaning forward onto the table, and he says, "It is clear that something must be done. There is no sense dwelling too much on what has happened, but we must move forward and learn from this if you are to ever truly take your place leading this business, this family."
What would you have me do?
And he says, this tavern of yours, prove to me that you can bring it from the depths of failure to success. I want to see not just merely sustaining itself. I want to see you turn it into some place with a hefty profit.
And she nods.
You will receive no help from this family in that matter or any of your personal matters until this is resolved. Effective immediately, you are temporarily disowned. You are on your own.
Her face would just drop.
The servants that have helped you in this matter are also temporarily relieved of their positions until such time as this tavern is deemed a success.
What?
I mean, you're not there.
Just got us fired. Well, I'm not.
We all got fired, and she got disowned.
Yep.
And he says, and in addition, Sheldrake, once he is restored to life, if it is capable of such a thing. For now, the costs shall be covered by me. However, they shall be indebted to your name. I will expect them to be paid back in full before you are bequeathed your rightful birth once more.
I take it he's got like that expression on his face that means there's no arguing with him.
No, he's got this like stern, like cold, like look on his face.
I'll gather my things. And I sort of turn to Reginald and say, if you could inform Bassick and Dricken their fate, and I sort of like leave in a stupor.
And as you're kind of like leaving, he says, Valerie, I fully expect you to be more cautious, to look over the lives of your family and your servants. I said, they are important to us. You should treat them as such.
I understand.
And he says, I expect my daughter should be fully capable of providing not only for herself, but for those around her. Do not disappoint me again.
And she'll nod and just zoned out, walk back to her room and gather her things.
Alright.
Yikes.
Yeah, I'm just standing in the kitchen, minding my own business.
Not aware of the ball that's about to be dropped on you.
Yep.
Just tending to the animals to the stable.
Tell them, Zach, when I ask you to.
It's like, I will if you need me to, mistress.
Thank you, Sir Reginald.
And I'm terribly
sorry.
sorry. I cannot
should
help but
apologize.
feel that if I had been there, none of this would have happened to you.
I'll say, I should apologize to you. I've once again lost you your home.
It is not your fault, mistress.
Hmm.
We
I-
will pull through.
Excellent. So I will go to my room and pack up my things, I suppose.
And I will go gather up the co-workers.
All right, who do you go to
What
first?
that were-
Ex-coworkers.
Co-workers.
One's in the yard. He said with the dog, and the other's in the kitchen. Which is closer? Probably the kitchen, right?
The kitchen, yeah, because that would be inside of the.
I will
estate.
go to the kitchen to Bassic.
I turn around when I hear him come through the door and I go like, "What's the verdict?"
Actually, sorry, I'll change something. I think it would, since I'm his sous chef, I probably wouldn't want to be alone, so I went with Bassic to the kitchen to help him prepare food and stuff.
Sure.
So we were all here. I'll gather them up and pull them to the side, away from the prying ears, because everyone knows the fucking people in the kitchen are huge fucking gossips.
You
Of
vouch for
course.
this, Morton, as a chef.
Including us.
Yep, Morton gave us a thumbs up.
Everyone
Alright.
knows everything in the kitchen.
It seems that Lord of Bourbon has chosen quite a harsh punishment for the mistress.
Okay.
How
And we
hard?
seem to have been included in it as well.
Oh, yeah, okay.
The Lord has decreed that, as of right now, the mistress will be disowned.
Kind of see what George is.
My beak drops.
Not permanently, just until she can prove she can handle the business by starting with this inn that she has acquired. And though he says it is a punishment for us as well, I think it is more that she will not be alone. He is temporarily let us loose as well to be with her.
Okay.
So I
What
think
do you
it
mean
may
let
be
us loose?
He has basically temporarily fired us. Rick. We're supposed to make sure that Valerie succeeds.
if we value our jobs, then yes. So gather your things, boys. I suppose we'll be staying at that inn for quite some time.
Guess what? I look over at Reginald and I go like, we should have fixed the rooms first, shouldn't we?
Won't be
Okay.
my first time sleeping on cold floors.
Know the feeling. I kind of just get like a straw sack and start putting all my clothes and stuff in there.
Gather your things and meet us at the front.
Or
And I guess, well, we only have the one carriage. I don't think they're gonna let us take the carriage, are they?
No.
Nope, we have to walk the whole 15
Yep.
minutes or
I was
whatever
about
it
to
is.
go ask for it.
So when Reginald leaves the room, if he does,
I do, yeah.
Yeah, I put my hand on Draken's shoulder and go like, "We're gonna figure this out, you know. It's gonna be okay."
I'm kind of confused about our situation. We've been fired, but we're still supposed to work for the mistress?
It's basically her father telling her that we're gonna work under her and she's gonna figure out how she's gonna become a stronger person for herself. So basically, we're not fired, but we are temporarily working for her. It's just
So, us taking care of her is like a second job interview?
yeah, basically.
Oh.
So we just have to make sure she succeeds and the tavern goes around. And that was basically what we were doing in the first place, so I guess that's it.
I'll be honest, I don't like building. Period.
Nor do I. I like cooking and, hunting. Building and tearing things apart ain't really my style.
I guess we don't have a lot of choice now, though.
Nope, no we don't. Anyway, let's pack our things and go outside with the rest, shall we?
All right. Go to the servants' quarters,
Yeah, go get my stuff.
and I'll pack all the animals in the stables because I consider them mine.
Ugh.
I'll go grab my things from the servants' quarters as well. I'm assuming it can all fit in a rucksack, pretty much, that I throw over my shoulder. But like, I go to Alexei. Oh, sorry, not Alexei. Valerie, the mistress, and that. Like, I'll see if she needs any help, and I ask her, like, should I get Sheldrick's things?
I suppose Valerie would turn to you and say, well, we don't know whether Sheldrick will live or not. So she kind of shrugs and says, I'm not sure, to be honest.
I suppose we can leave them here until we know for sure.
I think that might be best. I'm not really sure if I want to go through Sheldrake's things. In case he might still be alive. Would feel wrong.
Very well. And what of you, mistress? Do you need any help?
No, I've gotten pretty much everything. And you notice that I imagine Valerie's got like 3 big bags. Like she's got one in her back and one in each arm. I imagine one of the ones she's carrying like jingles quite a lot with the sound of like metallic clunking and clanging inside.
Fuck.
I'm an artificer,
Packed
man.
as much gold as she could.
Oh, yeah, I thought like, should you just steal all the silverware?
It's all like her materials and gadgets and things.
All right.
Please allow me to take one.
If you insist, but don't you have to carry your own?
I have my things.
What are you holding, like, at the moment?
A ruck, like, just a small little backpack, not much in it.
It's just basically like a small sack full of our clothes. Like,
We're
Yeah.
servants. What the fuck do you think we have?
Like, extra pair of clothes and all that, and like some knickknacks.
Oh. I see. And I suppose I'll give you the heaviest bag.
There you go, I'll take that.
Yeah.
And then, like, we will-
When I come out, I just take the other one out of her hand.
Dricken's coming out with like a 10,000-pound bag, and it's making all kind of animal noises.
No.
Ready to go!
Yes, let's go to Troll Skull Manor.
I look over at Valerie and I was like, as I told Reginald, we should have fixed the rooms first.
Yes, I suppose.
I guess we have to do some room decoration and room fixing when we get there.
Yes, I suppose we shall.
How many rooms do we need? 3. Valerie, you have one on your own. Me and Drinking can share one, and Reginald and maybe,
And the kids. So 4.
God, I forgot the
4.
kids.
How many? The floor plan. You gave us the floor plan for a manor, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
There was like four bedrooms, I think.
Someone can sleep in the basement.
Actually, I will
Yeah.
take that. I will take the attic.
Oh, I need to
Yeah,
rejoin.
there's a bedroom in the attic, and like the thing is like the rooms aren't set in stone, right? Like you can decide
Yeah.
what each room is, so like you can make more bedrooms, but there are, I believe, 4 like rooms that were previously bedrooms.
There is an attic bedroom, a master bedroom, a bedroom, and another bedroom. So yes, there's our
We're fine.
and there's one spare room.
Figure it out when we get there.
So
Yeah, we'll just go there, and Unless something happens on the way that you can just pop up the floor plans on the map.
Yeah, it's on the handouts.
Oh,
Yeah, I can drag you
Additional
guys over.
Waterdeep handouts. It's Frostcut Manor handout. You see the floor plan.
we do a somber walk with all our
I'm still-
belongings.
I'm still a bit shell shocked.
Yeah.
All right.
Sheldrake shocked.
Shell
so you-
shocked.
Ah, too soon.
Too soon,
Ah,
dude,
sorry.
too soon. All right, so you begin making your way slowly down the main roads, walking the distance to Trollskull Manor, which not far, but middle of the day, so there's like a bit of traffic, and you're carrying all this stuff with you, so it's a little bit slow going. As you arrive, you can see there's still basically like the pile of stuff outside that you cleared out of the first floor. And as you sort of like walk up to the front door, you can hear kind of footstep, soft footsteps and laughter at the other side of the door as you like open it up, and you see the three children sort of like playing inside. The two boys kind of like sparring with wooden swords, while the girl kind of like sits on the counter, like looking at them, watching over them. And as you enter in and kind of like your presence is known, they kind of like stop, like smiling at you, looking at looking at all of you, and you see Swiggly sort of like steps up and says, "Welcome back." And he says, kind of like looking over at each of you, and says, "Where's the old man?"
Sheldrake had some things he must take care of.
He'll be back, I think, quite soon.
And
He will join us at a later date. For you see, we remembered how much fun you three were having here, and we decided that perhaps we could come and join you for a few days or so.
Or weeks. Or
And
years.
so,
Months, maybe
the-
years.
the boy sort of like smiles and says, "Is that so?" He says, "You finally come around to our way of things, then, huh?" And
It seems so.
yeah, he kind of like laughs, and then he like runs towards you, Sir Reginald, and kind of like hits you on the leg, and he says, "Last one to the attic's rotten egg," and just runs through your legs and out the door.
I'll put out my claws and start just running and climbing past them.
All right, so basically you charge out the door after him and just like climbing your way up.
No chance they're winning that one.
I do not charge after. I do continue carrying Valerie's things. I was like, let us get you a room, mistress, and get you settled in as best as we can.
I remember you did.
Sure.
Lord Neverember, he paid for the people who were getting rid of the stuff we were throwing out, right?
I did.
Paid for that. Yeah, Bassick did more accurately.
Nobody's actually no. So you guys haven't even like Sheldrake made an appointment to like meet with them, to like
yeah.
negotiate the terms and all that kind of stuff, and it hasn't happened yet. I think it was scheduled for tomorrow. I think was the first day.
Suppose I'll need to go in his place. But yeah, I suppose we still have this bag of money that we're going to be using for the cleaning services.
I gave it to you, so I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so I've still got it.
By the way, reason why I went up to the attic is what's up in the attic? There's an attic bedroom and a storage. What's in the storage room there?
So the storage room has as looking through it, there's a number of kind of these tarpaulins draped over various different like old kind of like rotted out furniture. You sort of covered in these white sheets. A lot of it seems to be just sort of like in various states of disrepair. And it just seems like basically like just a bunch of junk was stored up here, essentially. You find like a crate that looks like it has just a bunch of like random like little like knickknacks and stuff in it. Probably like stuff that was like a lost and found almost, right? Stuff that was just like lost in the tavern and like thrown up here and forgotten about. So there's like a bunch of like weird little like knickknacks and stuff, but nothing really like super like valuable or interesting.
Okay. Do we have like a blueprint on it, or should I draw one up? Just like take a piece of parchment and basically make to that.
Well, presumably, there is like a hall of records in the city that would have
Sorry.
the architectural blueprints of this place. You don't have them, but you could go and like show your deed of ownership and basically like request a copy of them.
Okay. So how much are we cleaned out? Like how much are we emptied right now?
So far,
Just-
you guys basically have only emptied out the first floor. That's the only thing that you've like worked on so far.
I said that I started from top to bottom and like pushed everything downwards. So I started in the attic in such case, and like dragged all the stuff down from the attic to the next floor, and then kept going.
Yep.
So the question is how much I managed to get done.
And, well, one person probably wouldn't have. Maybe you could clean out like could have cleaned out like the bedroom of stuff because it wasn't very like full. But the thing is, like dragging stuff down, and there's always so much space to put stuff. So there's really only so much you could like drag down to the other floors. So yeah, you probably maybe would have gotten like the attic bedroom emptied out. There wasn't much in there, but beyond that,
I suggest
Alright.
perhaps we can start working on some of the bedrooms.
Like as I come down again, I was thinking about like, if we, as he said, like yeah, it would have been an idea. There's like 4 bedrooms as far as I've seen in this manor. And if we clear out those, for example, the 3rd floor, we can shove everything into the library. I assume it is because there's a bunch of bookshelves there, and just use that as a storing space. And 2nd floor, we just push it out in a common room. Just try to empty everything. Attic, you fixed the bedroom in the attic, didn't you, Ricken?
To the most part.
Yeah. So if we just go to the 2nd and the 3rd floor and just shove everything into another room, so we just have it cleared out at least.
I'm fine with that. Should we start on the 3rd floor so we can clear out that master bedroom for the mistress?
I was thinking the exact same thing. Just clear that first, and
Say clear that master bedroom and then that bedroom itself, and then we can sleep in the bedroom until we get all the rest cleared, and the mistress can have the master.
yes.
So I think we start on that then, Brad.
Yes. Clearing out the bedrooms.
all right. So basically, you go through and rather than focusing on just like clearing everything out, you basically take stuff from one room and just jam it into another room temporarily, just so you can clear out all the bedrooms. Okay. Obviously, that'll take some time. I think like as you guys are all leaving, the 2 remaining children who kind of didn't partake in this like race to the top with Squiggly, kind of like follow after you as you're like moving up, just like kind of curious about what you're up to basically, and yeah. So as you kind of begin clearing things out, they like help as best they can. Obviously, they can't really deal with any of the like big heavy stuff. And basically you spend the day clearing out the rooms and like emptying them so there's like space to kind of sleep. Obviously you don't have any like furniture or anything, so it's going to be like bedrolls on the floor basically, but at least there's not a bunch of junk in the way.
I was gonna ask the children, where do they sleep?
Yeah, so you can see basically that for the last like day or so, they had like a very similar setup to the one that you now currently have, where basically they had some like bedrolls that were provided for them like in the like tavern room,
Okay.
temporarily.
Okay.
Yeah, so you guys spend like a good part of the afternoon just like clearing out the room, like shoving it into some of the spare rooms and like just like kind of like pushing the stuff out of the way so you have like space to set up like bedrolls and sleep for the night. And towards the end of the day, as things are getting dark, Basik, one of the children, the tiefling boy, kind of like approaches you, and he just sort of you see he's holding his wooden sword that he has. A lot of like dings and like kind of scratches and dents in it. And he just sort of like looks up at you and he says, "You promised you'd show us how to use these things, didn't you?"
Yes, I did indeed.
And he says, "Can we do it now?"
The moment we get these bedrooms and sleeping quarters for everyone, we can do it. The thing is, it's been a very long day for the rest of us, and I'm beat. I promise I will teach you. If you can find me one of those wooden swords, I will start teaching you as well, okay?
He kind of like frowns a little bit, but like nods and says, "Okay." Turning away, walking off with Jenks. As you're kind of like bringing all your stuff together, Valerie, you're kind of like arraying out your like various like little like knickknacks and like machinations around the room as best you can, with what little like furniture you have here. I assume you're sort of setting up in the master bedroom as it was. On
That's the
third
one they
floor.
got for me.
You can see that like as you're kind of like looking over these things, the young girl Nat is just kind of like curiously like she's like helping you like unpack and stuff, and she's like curiously like looking at all these like strange little like baubles and like playing with them, and like a spark shoots out of one, and she like kind of is startled by it a little bit, and
Yep. I'll like take the sparking things out of her hand. Like, careful with those. They have a powerful discharge and it might hurt you.
Yeah, so she kind of like she looks at you, is like seeing you, and just kind of like tilts her head to the side, and like makes a few like signs with her hands, which you obviously like don't recognize. She begins kind of like looking around the room, and like goes
I'm
up to, like,
afraid I don't quite understand you.
and yeah, so she like picks up like another like object, basically like one of your like maybe like failed inventions or like something you're currently like working on, and she just sort of like is like like pointing at it, just like holding it up to you.
Oh, this. I suppose she'd probably give her like a little like scientific explanation of what kind of device it is. Probably goes it would all go all over her head. But as Valerie sees that, she'd probably
Can
say,
you make an insight check, Valerie?
Okay. 15.
Yeah, so as you're like beginning this explanation, you pretty quickly like realize as you're like explaining, you would expect like all these things to like go over anybody's head, but you quickly realize as you're like explaining things to her, she can't hear you.
Oh yes. She says, "Oh, can you not?" And I like point to the ears. What's his name again? It was Jinx was the one that used to translate for her, isn't it?
I don't think any of them were named Jinx.
They
They are now.
one of them is named Jenks, so it's close.
Squilly
that
Jinx
was it.
and,
She could communicate. She communicated to like both of them, so presumably they could both like.
I'd probably just be like, I'd shout like into the corridor from the room, "Jenks, could you come here?"
Yeah, so you see the darker skinned young boy kind of like come like walking over, and he just sort of says, what do you need?
I think Nat's trying to say something, but I don't understand what.
And
Could you interpret?
He just sort of says, "Oh, right," and he just like turns to Nat, kind of like making a couple of like hand signs as well, to which she kind of like responds in turn, and Jenks turns to you and says, "She's curious about what these things do. She wants to learn more about them. She's she saw like she saw a book." And
A book, eh?
she
Well,
kind of
I've got many books.
Yeah, he's like kind of like you see like she makes like another sign, and like he walks over and like picks up this book and like opening it. You see it's like this is like pretty like dense like heavy like worded book. He says, well, we never really had anyone to teach us these sorts of things, and she's curious about what's in it.
Oh, well, I mean, she's welcome to read them if she wants.
And he just sort of like looks at you and says, "Well, says we can't exactly read. Nobody ever taught us. We were kind of on our own."
Actually, Valerie has like a shocked expression. Oh, you can't read? That's terrible. I'll teach you how to read then. Don't worry. Everyone should be able to read.
Yeah, and so they're kind of like he like makes a few like hand signs to translate, and she responds in kind, and then he like turns to you like with a smile and says, "Really, that'd be great." And he says, "And in return, we'll teach you our secret language." And he like smiles.
Oh, the thing you do with your hands?
And yeah, he like kind of like nods and says, "Nat made it all up herself. It says a way for us to communicate with each other. She can't. Ever since she was born, she can't, hear things. So it was difficult at first, but."
Curious. Well, I'd be happy to learn that language in exchange for teaching you. Then sounds very interesting.
And yeah, so he sort of like says, he says, thank you so much." I'm kind of like looking around. He says, "It's getting late, but when do you think we could start?"
What time is it, Brad?
It's like almost like bedtime, quote unquote. Pretty late at night.
Well, I have a meeting tomorrow. One that Sheldrake was going to do, but I will have to do that instead. Soon, I hope, but we're still just trying to figure things out at the moment. But don't worry, we'll get around to it.
Yeah, he kind of like looks a little bit like dejected. He says, "Oh, all right. Well, let us know." He says, "If you need any help, we'll do what we can. You've been so nice to us." And he's kind of like looking around and says, like, "When is that old man gonna be back? I haven't seen him all day. He's usually everywhere with you, isn't he?"
He's a very busy individual. I hope he'll be here soon. I suppose like Valerie looks like visibly saddened when she says that.
He says, "Oh, all right." He says, "He's very nice to us, so I hope he gets back soon." And they kind of, like, run off on their own.
Yep. God, I think Valerie, like, after she finishes unpacking, just, like, falls into, like, the bed or bedroll or whatever it is that she's using.
Yeah, it's probably just, like, some, like, blankets or, like, a bedroll or something, right? You didn't really have any way to transport large amounts of furniture.
Yep. Just, like, curl up in her bedroll. I just try to get to sleep, I suppose.
All right. Is there anything that the rest of you would like to do before we sort of go ahead?
Were the windows completely open?
I can't yell.
So the windows, many of them are boarded up. So they're not like open per se, but there is kind of like draft through them. So it's not like airtight, but it's also not just like open. There are some that are like kind of.
I'll go like an drape, like old drapes and curtains and stuff, like over the ones that are a little bit more drafty than the others.
Sure. Yeah, you grab some of like the tarps and stuff that were draped over stuff to like kind of block them up a little bit to keep the cold air out.
Yeah, and then basically settle in the attic bedroom with Basic. Maybe me and Basic cooks something as a supper.
Yeah,
With
probably.
questionable ingredients.
Oh, yeah. Here's some
Here's some sewer stew.
Some
No,
mushrooms
what
we
was it
found
called?
growing in the basement.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have much in the way of like raw resources for like cooking meals at the moment. Haven't really gotten a chance to go like shopping or anything like that.
I don't think we have the money to go shopping.
have
Hey
some-
Brad,
Hmm?
would I know of any way to get some quick influx of money, whether it be through normal means or perhaps a less legal mean? Through my old smuggling days, would I know anybody or any way who might have a way to get something quick?
You'd probably have to like try to like get into contact with some of your like old, like although you haven't spoken to them in a while. Get into contact with them, and they might be able to like give you a job, smuggling something into the city for them, or something of the likes that could like be a like quick source of coin.
Mhm.
Or like you could go to like a money lender or something, and like a seedier money lender who doesn't really ask too many questions or expect too many things in return. But
Yeah,
usually those guys are also kind of a little.
yeah. Break your knees if they don't get their money
Yeah.
back in like record time with really high interest. Okay.
So, quick question. How much does wheat, sugar, and yeast cost?
Um.
I
Well,
don't think
I mean,
we're really in a way to open up
Not-
this tavern
not- not-
anytime soon.
Now I'm talking about like sacks, like bags full.
well, it's like a commodity. I don't really know.
I know there's something in the player's handbook.
Yeah, but I don't know if it has like super specifics. Well, probably basically like what you could do is like take the cost of like a simple meal and extrapolate it out, right, to some percentage of that. Um, 'Cause I don't really think there's anything like specific as far as
Sell vinegar? You just sell a bunch of barrels of wet vinegar.
Good, yeah. You have like a bunch of it. So a pound of wheat is one. There's actually a trade goods thing. So like a pound of wheat is a copper. What else? What are you looking for?
Let's see. Give me a second.
On page 157, they have some stuff, some like common trade good
Okay.
kind of things.
How much did you say 1 pound was?
So a pound of wheat is one copper.
So I need 44 wheat. That's 44 copper. That's 4 silver and 4 copper.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you need 44 pounds of wheat for?
Well, we have to use this brewery kit we bought and start making some alcohol and figuring out the mash, don't we? We need alcohol. We need to figure it out. And starting with moonshine.
Do we think we're going to continue this job for this merchant guy?
Well, I'm sort of thinking
Not-
like, if
For a while?
yeah, I think we'll need to take some time to like sort some other things out. But unless we're near it in Never Ember's words, maybe send someone else our way that can offer us a different job, then I don't really see what else we could do.
That's what I'm going to do then, Brad, since I don't think it's too late right now. I think...
Brad said it's near bedtime-ish.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
That's the perfect time to go to a tavern and look for a fucking job. And what tavern do we know than the Yawning Portal?
It's quite a ways away.
Is it? I thought it was pretty damn close.
It's kind of like basically like the other side of the city.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's like all the way down like near in the dock wards, and you're all the way up in like the north ward. So it's like basically the other side
fair
of the
enough,
city.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I thought it was somewhere else. Fair enough. Then I'll plan for that tomorrow morning then.
Sure. Yeah, so if you like Morton, if you're like looking for like ingredients or whatever, you can just like make a list of stuff, and I'll figure it out like between between like sessions or whatever how much it'll cost you for
I'm
everything.
just trying to find in my player's handbook that's
Do it and make them work.
So yeah, you all eventually head in for the night. Sleeping rather uncomfortably on the floor in your bedrolls of this dusty, sort of still like half ragged manor estate, and you all wake. Valerie in particular, you kind of like wake up pretty like exhausted, right? You are definitely not used to sleeping in such squalid conditions.
Not used to this.
So like you wake up like your back is sore, like your nose like itches, there's like dust everywhere.
But yeah, as I get up, I suppose if anyone else is up, I'll inform them I'm going to that meeting that Sheldrake was going to go to with the Order of whatever their name was.
I'll go with her.
Thank you.
All right. So you are going to go to the meeting with the what is it? The most loyal order of street laborers, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. So that was like about midday, but you figure basically like travel times from here and like the castle ward. You'll probably have to leave basically like immediately. So yeah, you prepare yourselves as best you can, and knowing that it's going to be like a walk there, as you do not have any other means of transportation at the moment. Is anybody else going to go with, or are the other two of you going to stay behind and start seeing to things at the manor?
Staying behind. Basic?
Huh?
Are you staying or going?
I just came back. I was just looking for my player's handbook for a second.
Okay. So we went ahead and went over to the next day. Valerie and Reginald are going to go to the meeting that was arranged with the laborers who are basically going to be, taking away all the trash and stuff from the refurbishment effort, to go like meet and negotiate with them. And Dricken is going to stay behind. I was wondering if Bassic would stay behind with him or go with Valerie.
I'll join him and just start emptying the common room on the second floor.
Yeah. I'd probably say it's best if someone stays behind to keep an eye on the place, though. In case someone maybe comes to visit or whatever.
Yeah, so
I guess...
stay behind and do some cleaning.
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay.
All right. So then Valerie and Reginald, the two of you head out into the streets, and begin making your way through to the castle ward and sort of the outskirts of the markets where the guild headquarters are for the loyal order of street laborers. We'll go ahead and skip over as you arrive basically at this rather impressive looking structure that houses like the guild headquarters, right? And you see like the sign like advertising their name and the likes, and you see like workers basically like outside changing shifts or whatnot, and their various different things, and you sort of like stroll up to the door. Entering in, you see that there is a like a large kind of like reception room, and there's a desk behind which is sitting a secretary. And as you kind of like walk in, you see there are a number of people sitting there like waiting in this sort of like waiting room area, reading through some of the broadsheets and the likes. As you sort of like enter in, this little like bell kind of chimes, and the secretary sort of like looks up and says, "I'll be with you in a moment," and just sort of like gestures to the seating area.
Yep, suppose I'll go sit.
All right. Yeah, so you like sit down, and kind of like begin, basically like flipping through the broadsheets as you're waiting. You see there's like there's definitely like front and center, like the main article here references like violence in the dock wards. It seems to be like an article on the recent kind of like struggles with like gang violence down in the dock wards, and specifically the article mentions a warehouse somewhere on Candle Lane having been raided by the city watch.
Hey, that was us.
Probably shouldn't just go around saying that, mistress.
Stay out in character, you dumbass.
Um,
You didn't say that.
and yeah, so as you're kind of like flipping through this article, obviously there's no reference to any of you, and there's kind of like an interview there with the guard captain, very like short and terse. Obviously, didn't really want to give any answers, and eventually you sort of like hear the secretary, and it says, right, what is it I can do for you? As she like kind of gestures you over.
Yep. I'll say, I have an appointment. I believe it would have been made by my servant, a Master Sheldrake Excellence.
And she begins sort of like looking and says, and your name?
Valerie Cadencia von Bourbon.
She sort of like goes like flipping through the book, and she says, yes, I see it right here. An appointment with the head of the guilds. Right. I will let him know that you are here. It'll be about 15 minutes. It looks like he's currently in another meeting with some of the other guild representatives. So if you want to wait here another, 15 minutes or so, I'll let him know that you're here, and we will notify you when you are able to meet with him.
Thank you. And then I'll go back and, sit and wait for however long it takes.
Yeah, so you just like sit and wait a little bit more before eventually a person sort of like enters out into the room and says, Valerie.
Yep. So I'll get up and head over. Greetings, sir.
And they sort of say, the guild master will see you now. Follow me. And he kind of like leads you through up into the sort of like back rooms here, traveling up the stairs all the way to the kind of like the top of this building, where he kind of like knocks on the door, and you hear this voice like, come in, and the door opens and you see this sort of resplendent looking office lined with like bookshelves and decorations and the likes, and like sitting at the other side of a large kind of like mahogany desk, you see a rather squat, kind of like rotund-looking dwarven man with a long, kind of like red beard and braided sort of like jewelry mixed into it, and he says, "Come, sit. Let us discuss things."
Yep, I'm going to sit down.
Right, so the two of you sort of like sit opposite, and for a while he sort of like clasps his hand together, just sort of like looking over the two of you, kind of like eyeing you up and down, obviously trying to like take your measure, right? And he says, "And what, pray tell, is your business here today with me?"
Yes. Me and my associates are looking to renovate the tavern at Trollskull Alley, Trollskull Manor. However, it has fallen into quite disrepair, so we were hoping to contract your guild in order to assist us with the cleanup.
Yeah, so he sort of like says, "Is that all? A simple enough matter?" And he says, "And for what period of time are you looking to contract the services of our street laborers?"
How long did you say the 50 gold would last, Brad?
Well, you guesstimate, right? There's some negotiation to be done, obviously. You guesstimate it'll probably cover about like a month of like work on their part. As far as like transporting all these like heavy goods and stuff. That's like, like clearing out like all this like old debris and stuff is a little bit like beyond what they normally do. So it might go up or down depending on how well you kind of like negotiate the principal, right?
Okay, right. And she'll say, well, there's quite a lot of old debris in the manor, so we were hoping that we could maybe try and contract you for maybe a month or so.
Yeah, so you see he begins to sort of like pull open a large sort of like ledger book, flipping through it, and he says, "I see. And how large of a force do you expect to be required for this cleanup of yours?"
Would I know, Brad?
I mean, you could probably like guesstimate how many like workers it would take to like haul away the debris at a reasonable time, but like you have no clue, right? You've never like dealt with anything like this before.
Just say enough to clear out, what is it, a 4-story inn?
Yeah, how many stories is
1,000.
Brad again?
So there's the there's three like regular floors and like the attic floor. So yeah, it is like a 4-story, and then like the basement as well. So yeah, it's about a 4-story, all said and done.
Right. I can't say for sure. It would need to be enough to clear a 4-story building, including the basement, if necessary.
And he says, quite a large structure. And he says, you know the square footage by any chance, or
I suppose I'd give him a rough number,
yeah, you
like
could just like
from how big the building is.
estimate or whatever. And he says, I see. General lack of details. It's fine. He says, right, well, looking over the numbers here, it's quite the project that you have here. He says it will take no small number of my men. I'll have to divert them from other projects around the city to get this done. But we can perhaps work out an arrangement. Says, I'll give it to you straight. We've been busy as of late. Our services are in high demand. And he says, luckily enough for you, it would appear as though... Yes, it would appear as though there is another contract scheduled for that same district. So we'll have people in the vicinity. We will not have to charter any more wagons or carriages to spirit away the debris than we would normally. Said, all said and done, I suspect for a month's services of this scale, it will be about 70 gold.
And she'll think about it and say 70 gold. Well, we've managed to set aside 50 for this project. Would it be possible to reduce the price at all if we were to be the ones to remove some of the debris and bring it outside to just be taken away, needing only assistance on maybe some of the more unwieldy parts?
Sort of like thinks for a moment and says, well, and he says, normally that would be the implied conditions. We're, street laborers. We're not exactly house renovators. And he says,
well, we can help load up the wagons as well.
And he says, I could perhaps spare a little of the expense, though not much. And he says, a great deal of the effort is spent transporting and offloading the goods in their appropriate facilities, the recycling process and whatnot. I could go down as low as 60 gold, but that's as low as I can go for a job of this scale, given our current circumstances.
Alright, I have 6 gold coins, Zach. How about, what do you have?
Wait, you don't have any fucking gold coins on you?
Well, no, I've got the 50, but I've got 6 left over, so I can take up to 56. Have you got 4 gold coins?
Oh, yeah, I can cover that.
Yeah.
Or you could,
And she'll...
if you can pay 50 now and later.
Oh, that's a good point, actually, yeah. I suppose you'd say,
He's not there. You
Would
didn't
it-
get that idea from yourself. No matter gaming.
No, I get the idea for myself. Get the idea for myself. My character, like, it's not me. Alright, so...
Roll
I
for
suppose-
it. Roll
I
on that
suppose
20.
Valerie would... Shut up, like... I suppose Valerie would mull it over and be like, doesn't necessarily have to be an upfront cost. Would we be able to pay you 50 now and 10 on completion?
Typically, we accept payment for our contracts in advance. If you had some sort of collateral, perhaps, we could use to ensure that you are good to your word, something could be arranged. You must understand that you are an unknown factor. There is perhaps a potential for a great risk of loss of expenses should you be unable to afford the costs at the end of this contract. So we must have something.
I sigh and
forget.
say, yes, you are quite right. I sort of think to myself, I already owe Basic 40 gold, so what's owing... So what's owing, like, Sir Reginald 4 gold at this point? I sort of look at for Reginald, like, 60 gold then. I sort of take out 6 gold coins. Sir Reginald, can you cover me the 4?
I bring out the 4.
Alright, 60
You
gold
see me
coins.
pull out quite a little hefty gold coin purse as I pull out 4 coins from it and give them to you.
Thank you. And I sort of, like, just put the extra 10 gold coins into my already little satchel, like, just drop them in and say, that should be 60 gold coins there.
And he sort of says, All right. Well, he says no need for payment at the moment. I have need to get with our guild lawyers and have them draft up the contract. And he says, it'll be some time. Come back in. And he kind of like begins flipping through a book. He says, no. Come back in 2 days' time. Same time as this meeting, and we will have the contracts finished, and we can exchange payments and sign documents then.
2 days. And she'll sigh and she'll be like, very well. If that is necessary. I will see you in 2 days then, and we shall get this finalized.
And he sort of, like,
After we do get it
nods.
finalized, how long will it take for the work to begin?
And he says, once the contract is finalized, we can dispatch our workers immediately. It says, obviously, there will be some time before they are organized, but it should at least begin no later than the morrow of the day the contract is finalized.
I nod and say, very well. Thank you for your time. And I suppose I'll like take the gold sake away with me.
Yeah, so he just sort of says, have a good day, Lady von Bourbon.
And you.
Which ward did this take place in?
You're in, like, Castle Ward, like, near the markets.
Okay, near the markets.
I wonder what the guy thought when I won Bourbon didn't have enough money to pay up 60 gold up front.
Yeah.
Lots of impoverished nobles.
Anyway, as we're like
I'll-
leaving. Oh no, go ahead.
I suppose I was gonna say, as we're leaving as well, I'll give you like the gold satchel and I'll say, guard this with your life.
Oh God, how much is it?
60 gold coins.
60 gold coins, so that's 95 coins I have now then.
Yeah,
Rich
and she'll
boy.
say,
Make
guard
room
this
for
with
it.
your. Yeah, she says, guard this with your life, and you get the impression that she's like, kind of joking because she doesn't want you to die, but at the same time, she's also like, really keep a hold of this.
Of course, mistress.
He has to pry it from her hands.
While we're in the area, I know you were tasked to do that job for the merchant, but would you perhaps like to look for other opportunities, say at the inn in the Yawning Portal?
Well, after what happened with Sheldrake, I'm quite hesitant to risk that again. So any ideas you have at the point, I'm willing to listen.
Well, I'm assuming like Yawning Portal is going to be like most any other inn for adventurers. They'd have like job requests there, or I could find somebody who might need something there.
Yeah, you might be able to. There isn't really like a job aboard essentially. That's
Quest
not like
board.
that's not like the Yawning Portal's thing. But there's probably, because there's so many adventurers that go there, there's probably somebody around that would be like looking
Somebody
for...
who needs something, or somebody who knows somebody that needs something.
Yeah. Where's the Adventurers Guild, Brad? I want to find Goblin Slayer.
No.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. Like an actual like heroes place where you can
Mm-hmm.
pick up jobs
no.
for what level you are.
Yawning Portal would be a good place to perhaps network, young mistress, and find an opportunity to make some gold. Because from the looks and sounds of it, we'll need some, and quite some more after that, to get things going.
Right. Well, I suppose. Let's head to the Yawning Portal then. Although I will admit, I'm a bit out of my element with networking with these types of people.
Just be yourself.
How do you say?
Oh no.
I don't know what else to tell her other than that.
Don't be your sister.
I don't know,
Yawning
her
Portal
sister has
Guild.
access to a lot of money right now.
Her sister is currently looking to spend said money on a wizard's tower.
Oh yeah.
Oh God.
The sisters von Bourbon spending all their money in town.
On property?
Yep.
Hey, property's where the money is. I guess we go to the Yawning Portal then.
Okay. Yeah, so you make your way to the Yawning Portal. So, meanwhile, back
I'll be back.
back at the back at the manor estate. Basic and Dricken, you're doing some more work cleaning up, kind of like filtering stuff down to kind of like the bottom floors, so it'll be easier to deal with later once people start to come to take it away. And as you're cleaning things out, Dricken, you sort of like you're working along one of the rooms, kind of like with a window that like looks out into the lane. You notice that a number of people kind of like are approaching down the road, and like you see that they turn to that building like across the way from where the manor is, and kind of like begin to like one of them pulls out a key and like opens it, and they begin to like step inside. You do not see the man whom was speaking with the agent before, Mr. Froon, presumably, but you do recognize some of his like entourage entering the place as you were cleaning things up.
Like what how are they dressed? What, like, are they respectably dressed, or do they like mercenaries or workers?
They're wearing. One of them is wearing like the man you don't recognize. One of them, the men you don't recognize, is wearing like this sort of like sharp kind of like business looking suit. The other ones are a little bit more like ragged, but still like presentable. None of them are wearing like armor and like wielding weapons or anything of the sort that you can see.
All right. I'll I'll go back to basic and like say, yeah, those people. There's some people back in the building across the road. They're going in there now.
I don't like this. I don't like this one bit.
Should we have a closer look again?
We try. Go up on the porch where we were last time. I would go to the window. I wasn't see something. Hear something.
I'll when they've gone in, I'll just try to fly from one of the open windows out to the balcony portion there.
Sure, yeah. So you like fly like over across the way. After they enter inside, I'm not gonna make you make a stealth check or anything because they're inside. There's no way that they like see you. What would you like to do, Basic?
I'll do the same as last time. Just skid over the street and like get under some windows that are open or broken or something.
Okay. Yeah, so the two of you, again, sort of like position up, kind of like out of sight, begin to try to like listen in on what is going on. Basic, at first, like you hear like footsteps like walking around in the room, basically adjacent to the window that you're like pressed up under, and you hear basically one of the men is talking to the others, looking through the rooms. He's kind of like rattling off like a list of basically like things, right? Like oh, this beam needs replacement. Like these floorboards here. Like he seems to be sort of like going through and just like taking inventory of like what needs to be redone, what can be just like repaired, and he's making his way through the house. And Dricken, you hear similar things like upstairs, like oh these windows here are going to need replacement. This isn't quite up to code anymore, so this will have to be changed. And you can hear like it's mostly just the one guy like talking. However, at the end you hear Basic that they're all kind of like gathered there. And eventually like the man like stops and sort of like rattles off this like list of everything, and he says, all said and done, these are some expensive repairs, and he says somewhere in the vicinity of 2,000 to 3,000 gold total just to bring it up to barely functional. He says, I'm not exactly entirely sure it is worth it for your employ. And he gets like cut off, and he says it is worth it. We didn't come to hear you about advice for our employer. We came to get the numbers. He said, and as he's talking, he's like, yes, of course. Well, like I said, You're probably looking at about 3,000 gold just for the basic repairs, and that's not even including the plumbing or anything else for that matter. And he's just sort of like rattling off again, and he says, it doesn't matter. He says, what matters is if you can get us in contact with the guild representatives. We want all of their best men working on this project, and then some. Do you understand me? Our employer is important. More important than you are, and you wouldn't want to cross him. And you can hear like the man is like getting nervous, and he says, right, I'll see what I can do. He says, on such short notices, don't want to hear excuses. Just get it done. The coin is no option. Right, and like you hear them like moving away.
Okay. I kind of like shuffle my way back to the tavern or the manor. Try to make my way back there because
I see Basic moving across, so I'll go with if I don't hear any. I'll linger for like a minute or two just to see if somebody starts monologuing their evil plans.
No, like you see them basically, like as you're like lingering, you see them like walking away down the street, like out of the house. And then you see
I'll fly back over.
Skirt across.
Yeah, I'll fly back over.
All right. Yeah, so the two of you, I assume, like meet up again.
I look at Drake and I go like, bad feeling about this.
Yeah, I got most of that. It seems like the other guy says it's not worth it, but this guy seems adamant about doing it anyway.
And the guy that bought it, Mr. Froome, or what is very adamant of getting this place up and going. And then talked about 3,000 gold. That's a lot of money, and that I don't see how it's worth it at that point. If he has that much money, it would have been easier to just buy another place and refurnish it for half the price.
Is there something else in mind?
There has to be something else going on here.
And also, who the heck threatens the guy they hired for an estimation? That's weird.
There's something wrong going on in here. Well, we just have to figure it out, I guess, and we'll just inform Lady Valeria when she gets back about our findings. Other than that, well, I think we just better keep cleaning and
maybe we should start on some food for when they get back.
True, we should.
Or you can do that and I'll keep cleaning.
Yeah. Speaking of cleaning, how much have we done by now?
Well, with just the two of you, we probably haven't made like much progress. We
put the kids like sweeping and dusting and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so as you're like having this conversation, see like one of the kids like sweeping up. He kind of like stops what he's doing, like looking over at you as you're like having this hushed conversation in the corner of the room, and he kind of like walks over and he's just like, "So what's up with all the like sneaking around and stuff? I thought you were cleaning things up. What was that?"
We are cleaning things up, but how are our suspicions about things as well? We'll tell you more about it.
And he says, "Ooh, is there a secret conspiracy going on?"
Oh God, how old are you? Not as far as we know, kid.
Not quite as nefarious as that, I don't think.
No, but which one of the kids are this?
It's the tiefling boy, Squiggly.
Oh, the guy that really wants to learn how to fight.
Mm-hmm.
I look around. Have you found a sword yet? If you wanted to learn to fight.
And he sort of like there's like a big like frown on his face, and he says, he says, well, nobody. And he just sort of like shrugs and says, I'm working on it.
Sure, there's a broken table leg or something around you can use. you can teach him some things. I can start with the food.
He says, but if there's any bad guys to beat up, He kind of smiles.
I trust you. We'll give them run for their money, huh?
And he says, "That's right," and kind of like runs off like to continue cleaning up.
Alright, we'll go back to.
Okay. Going back to Valerie and Sir Reginald, you have made your way to the yawning portal, and you can see that it's kind of like early afternoon, so people are starting to funnel in, but it isn't quite like packed to the brim. So you can still like you hold a conversation without having to shout at each other. And you can see there are some people kind of like scattered around. Is there any type of person in particular you're looking around for, or you just like looking for anybody who looks like they've got an exclamation mark over their head or something?
I was thinking about maybe going up to the bartender, Mr. Level 20 Fighter, and saying, "Hey, do you know anybody who's looking for a job, or is like looking for like a well-paying job that they have set up or something?" To make some quick.
We're the ones looking for a job.
Yeah.
So you walk up to Durnan, who's like there at the bar, polishing this mug as he often is, and he kind of like puts it down as you approach. And he says, "Hey, what can I get for you?"
What was his name again? It was
Durnan.
Durnan, my friend. I have a favor to ask of you.
And he says, He says, "Not really a friend of yours, barely know ye. Remember you from that fight, though. Good work you did." He says, What can I do for you?"
Do you know anybody in this tavern who has a job lined up that they need help with?
And
I'm looking for something that pays.
he sort of like
well.
he says, he kind of like chuckles and says, "Didn't get enough on your last visit, huh?" He says, "It's often the case." And he says, "I'm sure there's some folks around looking for poor sods to do the dirty work." He says, "Anyone in particular?" He kind of like thinks for a moment, like scratching his head. He says, "There's this bloke," and he kind of like gestures over to the other side of the room, and you see there's a man sitting at a table like all by himself, who has like heavy kind of like black lids under his eyes. Look like he hasn't slept in a while. Like short hair, very like he has what looks what looks like they were nice clothes, but they're like really ragged, and they look as though they haven't been like washed in some time. And he just has this very like bedraggled look about himself, and he kind of like Durnan kind of like gestures over to him, and he says, "He's been hanging around here an awful lot of late, bugging the patrons." And he says, "A look of worry on his face about something." He says, "Maybe he might have something for you. Don't know, I haven't talked to him though. Always
well.
comes in here, orders the same thing."
It's a start. Thank you very much, Durnan.
He sort of like nods, like goes back to polishing his mug.
And what is it that he orders?
And he
Same
says,
thing every time?
He says, "Plain and simple, whiskey on the rocks."
I'll just, put down some copper or silver. I don't know how much it costs.
Probably be like a silver.
Yeah, 2.
And yeah, he sort of like nods and like quickly kind of like pulls out a couple of like whiskey glasses, putting some ice in and filling it up with whiskey, sliding them over to you. "Best of luck to you."
I'll look over at Valerie. He's like, "Are you ready, mistress?"
Sure.
Let's
Give
see
it a
what
shot.
this sopped up guy has to say. And we'll walk over to him.
So you walk over and you can see he's just sort of like gazing down at the table, kind of like muttering under his breath as you approach.
I'll place the one up on his table and slide into the seat next to him. Or not next to him, but across from him. Sorry.
So I'll sit down next to Sir Reginald.
Yeah, so he sort of like looks up at the both of you as you kind of like approach, putting these the drink down at the table. He kind of like looks at it. He says, "Well, Sir Rob, who are you? Who sent you?"
There's been word around the tavern that you're looking for some assistance in some things.
And he sort of says, as he like takes the glass, like looking at it like carefully. You see, he like kind of like sniffs it, almost like looking at it like apprehensively before he like
I sip mine.
takes a drink, and he just sort of says, "Might be that I am. Who's asking?"
The name's Reginald.
I'm Valerie.
And he says, "Jallister," as he takes another drink.
Jallister.
Jallister. What a name.
It's like, me and my mistress here are looking to make some coin. So, please, do tell. What do you have in mind?
And you see he like polishes off the drink rather quickly, like putting it down on the table, heaving like a heavy sigh, and he says, "Things have been hectic out there on the streets. My work is never done. I have representatives from every guild under the damn moon complaining to me about this and that. This violence and this gang war is driving me up a wall." He says, "If you think you can do something about it, I'd be glad to offer you some work."
What, are you wanting me to go bust the heads of some gang members?
And he says, "No, nothing like that. I'd rather not get into trouble with the City Watch for sponsoring adventurers to provoke violence in our streets." He says,
It can never be that easy.
and he says, "I had something else in mind, something a little bit more reserved. Not exactly the most exciting of work, but it'll pay well enough and get these guild members off my back for a time being."
Let's hear it.
Yeah, so he sort of says, at first, he says, "Allow me to fully introduce who I am." This Jallister Silvermane, and you see he pulls out from his like trench coat.
Silvermane?
He pulls out from his trench coat a badge, and you see that it bears the like crest of a Waterdeep, and you would immediately recognize it as the badge of a member of the City Watch.
Okay.
And
Ooh.
and he
Like
says,
a high-ranking member, or are they all the same badge?
like usually these badges are only carried by like high-ranking officers, basically.
Okay.
And he says, "I'm an operative. I work directly for the Open Lord." He says, "I've been trying to deal with the unrest in the guilds lately, and one guild in particular has been causing us a large amount of grief over this gang war." He says, "We had to hastily offer them protection as a compromise, but we've no agents to assign to protect them. So, if you lot, and I assume there are more than two of you, would offer to help us in that regard, we can compensate you duly."
4 or 5 be enough.
And he sort of like nods. "I imagine it's probably not like to be exciting work."
How long will they need this protection?
And he says, we promise to protect them for a 10-day. While we look
How long
into
a day?
into the violence." And he says, "From sun up to sundown each day."
And how much would it pay? At the end of the 10 days?
Says, "Well, should you stay on the whole 10 days and not get bored out of your mind, we could probably offer, well, you said what, 4 or 5 of you?" Kind of like begins like thinking. And he says, "Boring work, but we could probably afford to give you about 20 gold apiece." Like I
Maybe
said,
100 gold for all 5 of us.
it's not
Should
like
shell
to be
drink or two.
exciting work, but a promise is a promise, and somebody's got to look over these blokes.
I turn and look at Valerie here.
So what do you say? You give us 20 gold for the whole 10 days each?
That's what he said. 20 golds
Fucking hell.
each. So
That's like
80
barely
or 100
nothing.
gold, depending if Sheldrick gets there.
2 gold a day.
I kind of coughed, like, we need something to start with, mistress. Because as of right now, we do not have much.
Yeah, we all kind of start from nothing here. Oh god, it's either this or the Dungeon of Death. Like,
We could always do. How much was the merchant paying?
he was paying 1,000 if we could get his relic.
Yeah. I mean, we can try again. Maybe if y'all don't go without me.
Hmm. When would we need to start?
And he says, well, as soon as possible. He says they're expecting a guard within the next few days. We can afford to push it back a little bit, but...
Well, we'll need to talk to our companions, the other ones who will be joining. Would it be okay if we get back to you either tomorrow or the day after?
And he sort of like, kind of like looks for a moment and like nods slowly. He says, yeah, I'll be here. He says,
Very well. And I look to Sir Reginald and say, well, we best be off then, see what their thoughts are. And I'll turn to him and I'll say, if we do decide to take the job, then we'll be back tomorrow or the day after, and I suppose be ready to start.
yeah, he sort of like heaves a heavy sigh and he says, right, I'll see what I can do to delay them in the meantime. If you're interested, come to me, I'll give you more of the details. Till then, he kind of like raises a glass and says, thanks for the drink. I could use it.
Alright, good day. And yeah, I suppose then we'll probably just head off unless Sir Reginald has any other ideas.
No, that was about it.
Very well, let's get back to the manor then. Hopefully the place isn't burnt to a crisp or anything like that.
I'll ask Valerie as we're walking back as well. Is like, do you wish to continue in this dungeon that Sheldrick perished in?
Well, I'm sort of stuck at the moment, really. Father says that in order for me to, be allowed to come home, I need to make the tavern a profitable venture, and one of the best. But, on the other hand, I can't do that without any coin. But going into that dungeon without any preparation is also dangerous, and to do that we also need coin. Do you see the problem?
I do.
Honestly, I'm not sure. Maybe if we get back, Bassic or Dricken might be able to weigh in on our options.
I think perhaps if we had all gone into the dungeon together, it would have gone differently.
Yes.
Again,
possibly.
I'm sorry.
It's fine. Let's head back.
We head back.
All right. So you head back to the Troll Skull Manor. Takes like an hour or two traveling through the city streets at this point of day before you eventually make it back again, and just sort of having to walk the whole way because you don't really have the ability to afford better transportation at the moment.
I looked up what a wagon costs, and we're gonna need about, I think it's 85 gold for a wagon and a draft horse to pull it.
Damn. Yep.
All right, so you all return, make rendezvousing once more with the other two members of your group currently here. So yeah, Bassic and Dricken, as you're like cleaning things up, I would say you probably managed to just with the two of you probably clean out a quarter of one of the floors with the day's work. Just moving stuff down basically. You're kind of rapidly running out of room on the lower floors to move the stuff though. You can't just pile it all out in the street. There's only so much room to do that. So you're kind of hitting and stretching the limit of how much stuff you can pack into the lower floors.
We're dumping everything in the opposite building. Let them pay for it.
But yeah, so
All
you
right.
two see Valerie and Reginald returning, kind of walking up to the tavern.
So I sort of return, despondent look on my face. How'd it go here?
Well, the house on the opposite side was visited once again, and we decided to have a closer look. And we still get this funny feeling that something is off. I think they had someone estimating how much it would cost for them to fix the place up, and he said that it would cost about 3,000 gold for them, and that he was questioning whether it was worth it. And the person who was with him, that I didn't recognize, that I assume works with the Mr. Froome person, said that it doesn't matter, and that he just needs to do what he's told.
Right. Well,
And they had a very aggressive tone when they were talking about it. There was a lot of hostility in the voice of the man telling them what they need to do.
ugh, troubling. Well,
Oh.
that's great. She just sarcastic. Well, I had that meeting. I have to go back in 2 days to finalize the details. At which point, I will hand over the money, and we will have gotten their services. However, However, we still have our more immediate problems of the fact that we're flat broke.
Yeah.
I look over and like, I know you don't want to hear this, but I actually think it's a good idea to try that thing again with some more preparation.
Yes, well, that's what I was kind of talking about with Sir Reginald here. In order to prepare, we kind of need coin, but we can't get any coin unless we either go down that horrible dungeon or do what
Okay, the thing is, we saw the
Jal-
key. We saw the key on the neck of that Minotaur. And the thing is, if we get to kill that Minotaur, or whatever, it might be a pretty good thing. But the thing is, we can't let go of the skull, because then that one disappeared. So, hence, we basically just need our 3 best fighters to fight that thing head on. Which is, we need Reginald, because...
Wait, stop. You're assuming that everything is finished after we deal with that Minotaur.
No, I'm not... But the thing is, then we can see if there's another step, and we can go back, recuperate, and keep moving next time.
He makes a point. However, me and Sir Reginald also met with a man of the watch, Jalister Silvermane. It's not nearly as much coin, but it might be something. He says that he needs a 10-day guard for a guild that is giving him grief. However, if we were to all do it, we'd still only get 100 gold, and it would take 10 days.
10 days. That's 2 gold per person.
I know.
That's 2 gold per day for 10 days. You really think that's a good idea, though?
10 days where we can't work on the tavern as well.
Indeed.
Well, I told him we'd get back to him either today or tomorrow on the fact, so we have some time to to maybe explore other avenues. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure what we should do next. Blue Alley seems to be our only real possible avenue, to be honest.
But the thing is, when we were in Blue Valley last time, we underestimated, all of us. And we paid for it.
Yes.
We didn't pay for it.
Well,
but anyway,
yes.
now we're going in, cool heads, kind of figuring and knowing what we're going up against, at least for the next task. And I mean, might as well try.
Well, yeah. Well, yes, but
What if the Minotaur is the easy part?
I mean,
but we don't have any. But we don't have any money for any like other supplies. No healing potions. Like, I don't even know if we have enough for things like rope or whatever it is that adventurers use.
Well, I mean, we're
I mean, we
technically
can-
not down a man, but we've basically replaced Mr. Sheldrake with Sir Reginald.
Hmm.
no, We shouldn't try now. We should try when Reginald now. When Sheldrake is back. If he's not back, we need to do it without. But if everything goes as planned with the resurrection or the healing or whatever they do, he will be back. Because he will.
Yeah, but that could take several days, they said.
Perhaps it will take a 10-day.
Yeah. I guess we can just do this. Seems like such a waste of time. We lose time on working on the
Yeah, the thing is,
on the mansion.
This mansion really needs us to take things down, like clean it and repair it. And if we're spending 10 days on just watching a bunch of babies, I mean, and as he said, they didn't want to watch themselves. Must be a reason, probably low-life criminals that we have to watch.
Well, he said it was a guild that was giving him grief because they wanted protection because of the escalating gang war. He said it would be relatively boring work just standing guard, but she shrugs and says, again, I don't really see what other avenues we have unless any of you have any contacts you can get that might know for some work that we could do.
No idea.
Well, I don't think we should go into the Blue Alley place again until we are more prepared. So I guess this might be our only option, even if it's got a big downside to it.
Well, if he's only paying per person, I suppose maybe one or two of us could stay here and do some work, but we wouldn't get as much.
We could also ask, because if we start on the if we get back to Silvermane tonight and let them know we'll start tomorrow, that gives us another day. Well, we'll have to get there to sign the papers as well, which might take some time and take away from it.
Did he seem like he was in a hurry or something? Was there any urgency to this?
He said
A
he
bit,
could
but
push
like
it back,
yeah,
but
a bit.
Maybe we can explain that we have other commitments, and if we need to do it, we need a little bit more payment. If it doesn't have people lining up to do it, maybe we can use that.
possibility.
Well, like I say, he might not be expecting us until either tomorrow or the day after, so since I have that meeting in 2 days' time, I could go to the meeting and then we could head back in the evening and speak to him and tell him we could be willing to do that work for him.
Perhaps we could also tell them at the meeting that we would need the services started in a 10-day. That way we're not losing 10 days of work from them.
Possibly, yes.
And then in the meantime, in the next 2 days, we can try to clean this place up a bit.
Hmm.
And get some stuff at least ready to be moved out.
You mean the next 10 days where we'll be watching over the guild members?
What do you mean?
Well, the 10 days that we're delaying the Workers Guild or whatever they're called.
Yes.
We're supposed to be watching over these guild members for the Silvermane.
Correct. We'll push back the laborers 10 days, pay them at the meeting then, but make it where hopefully they're fine with waiting a 10-day before they start. And then the 10 days in those 10 days we'll be guarding this guild.
Yep.
And afterwards we can just clean up this place. And hopefully by then Sheldrake will be back.
Maybe at some point I'll go and speak to Rainier and maybe see if he's got anything else that can maybe provide to us.
Sorry, didn't Rainier Neverember say something about paying for some service for us, or was it just giving us the contacts that he was offering?
Yeah, he was just gonna send some people our way. So far, we've only
Uh,
had Mert, but I'm hoping that maybe he might know some other people.
okay. All right. Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess that sounds like the. But I still think we should press on him to get a little bit higher payment for this
Well,
guard
when we go,
detail.
well, when we go speak to him, we'll see what we can do. But I don't know. All right. Well, I guess that's our plan then.
What a lowly plan it is.
Yep.
All right. So, you've got a few hours left in the day today. If there's anything like specific you wanted to try to get done, otherwise.
I'm gonna teach the kids how to read.
Sure. Yeah. So you like gather them all up and like begin trying to teach them.
How do you teach a deaf girl how to read?
I get the friend to sign stuff to her.
Yeah, it's quite the. It's going to be a long process on that one.
Hmm.
Um,
But the kids should know how to read. Everyone should know how to read.
yeah, so you begin. You like gather them up and like do your best to you sit them down and educate them. Nat and Jenks seem to be, at least for now, interested in it. As children often are. They can be flippant and hard to focus on a task. And as you're kind of like talking to them all, Squiggly in particular just kind of seems to just be like not at all interested, easily distracted. You think in the whole matter. It's hard to like keep him on track. But at least Jenks and Nat seem to be, paying some attention to you. It's definitely like slow going, especially because you're having to like, relay information to Jenks, who then like relays it with sign language to Nat. And so eventually you're going to have to kind of like figure out a better means of communication here. But for the time being, it's working, but very very slowly.
Was Squiggly the warrior wannabe?
Yeah, he's the
tiefling.
tiefling boy.
Yeah, so maybe he can be taught by Basic some fighting, and while me and
Very
Reginald-
spelling error
Reginald-
you make. I hit you hard.
me and Basic can or Basic can train Squiggly, and me and Sir Reginald can like continue on the work.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you all
I imagine once
split
I think I may have reached a point where it's as far as I can go, I'll probably need to like learn sign language in order to talk to Nat.
Yeah, especially once you start like getting to more like complicated stuff. Like, right now you're starting with the beginnings, right? Like, the ABCs or whatever.
Alphabet,
Yeah. But once you start getting into more complicated things, it's going to be very difficult to communicate. Especially because you probably understand like their makeshift sign language probably doesn't have like a lot of expansiveness to it, right? It's made to convey simple statements, right? Not like complicated complicated things. So it'll take some time, but you begin like the process of doing so, spending the rest of the night before bedtime, and eventually you all kind of like gather up, head off, prepare yourselves for the night, and close your eyes, going to sleep. And I think it's a bit earlier than usual, but I think this is as good a time as any to kind of like call things for now and end off this episode. Next time, hopefully, we'll have Thor back, and we'll see what happens from then, and see what you guys decide to do, how you get along.
Mm-hmm. Man, what a shit show.
By the way, did I get the inspiration from the?
Yes.
No.
No. Yes, you did. And then next week we'll be back same time, hopefully. I don't think there's anything crazy going on. So, I guess who hasn't done it yet? Zach, have you done a recap yet?
No.
Okay, then I believe that you shall be the next next to volunteer.
I
Capora.
shall be there to do it.
Very
Shall you?
well, sounds good.
I mean, unless something horrible goes wrong.
Something terribly awful goes wrong. Hopefully it doesn't. So, with that, that will be the end of this week's episode. Again, a little bit shorter, but it was a good place to hang off, I think. So,
Yeah, I think so.
next week we'll be back, and thank you all for playing with me and continuing to put up with my bullshit. And we'll see you next week.